Welcome back, everyone, to Spiritual Context for Worldly Chaos. This is episode 4 of Taylor Ursula's 2023 interview. Enjoy.
And from there, it just sort of spiraled into spread here. I'm going to make a spread for that. I'm going to, I've texted you so many random spreads. Hey, I made a spread for March. You want to try it?
It's so great. It's like, yes, I do. Yes, as a matter of fact, I would like to try this.
Yeah, and it's something that I do monthly now in my membership space. And so, many of us have membership spaces now. And so we do a monthly Tarot Salon in our Discord voice channel. Whoever shows up live hangs out in the voice channel, and we just sort of unpack a little bit of the astrology that we've just lived through. And then we hone in together, we collaborate on what we want to ask about the next month. What are our priorities? What sort of here are some themes that are going to come up. What do we want to ask about them? And so it's been very fun to extend this practice to this small group of people who get to collaborate and get to kind of ask the questions that they have, and then we figure out how to frame them appropriately for tarot. So I do think that had a big part of that process. I think there was a natural kind of outgrowing of the typical tarot spreads. And, I have to also honor Lindsay Mack, who was someone who was blending astrology and tarot while I was learning the language of astrology. And so, those newsletters where they would say, they would do a monthly spread for here's a retrograde coming, and, Lindsay Mack's not an astrologer, but definitely wove in and weaves in still that language. And so I think that was an early example of being able to do that.
I love that you bring that up too, because I don't remember who said this or where I read this, but if you think about it, astrology is more event based, so it's through this transit you may experience, or, and we can see kind of what may come up just based on the planet, but we don't have the behavior of what's going on. There's not a real look at the players or the emotion or, the opportunities or the conflicts. And so when you create a spread around it, it's you're seeing the event in a large way with astrology, but then you can attach the behavior to that event and get a kind of a really well-rounded view.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really beautiful. And you're definitely right. It's a way that we can further customize what that transit experience is, especially as we're learning astrology, for example, or even learning tarot. If it's something that we're doing together, then there's sort of these two different perspectives around the same themes that can help us kind of build a lexicon around what's going on. And absolutely, it's that, just being able to, again, start off with a framework of language that helps us begin to get curious about what we want to know, what we want to be able to anticipate, or what we want to be able to kind of process at that time. And the blending of them is really beautiful.
So I brought up, generic spreads like past, present, future. So if you were to tell somebody who's listening who is so sick of past, present, future, how would you reframe something so simple like that? How would you change the words for each one, maybe still resonating with the idea, but giving it a little bit more personal or subjective qualities, or however, because I know how, I love the way that your positions always kind of look within. Even if I look without, it's how is it reflecting what's going on within, or what are the resources that'll help you? You don't actually say this, but I love when it's and what is going to put a hole in your ship? You know what
right.
You don't want to.
One was a thorn and a rosebud, and it was okay.
Exactly. Let's do this
true.
Gently.
It's true. I try to wrap it in a nice bow, but I also try to be honest. So I love this question, and I recently realized that I am very big on centering in the moment. I'm very big on the first card, the first placement, always being an assessment of what's happening right now. I think it's really important to anchor in the present moment. I feel like even though past, present, future is supposedly straightforward and simple, even something like pulling us into the past immediately can be triggering. It makes us a little defensive. Like, we're just gonna jump straight back there. Like, you're just gonna call that what it was and slap me like that. Like, that's so rude. And I do think that starting in a present moment does allow us a little bit of gentleness, even if what we're seeing is a little harsher than what we wish, or a little too honest about what we're experiencing. I think it is important and like grounding to start in that present moment so that we are able to acknowledge what we're feeling right now rather than jumping straight to the past and like, now I'm defensive because like I didn't know any better, or like that's all I could do. There's just so many reasons why the past is the past, and we need to kind of ease into that. So we could take something as simple as past, present, future and just rearrange them a bit. And I think that would be a way to soften that and invite more gentle exploration of those themes. So what showed up in my mind was a little bit of an inversion of this. So past, present, future tends to go horizontally, like left to right. And what I saw was more vertical, and sort of starting with the first card in the middle, acknowledging just what is right now. Like, just acknowledging what is currently showing up for me in this moment. What am I presently navigating? And beneath that, maybe asking something like, what this current theme is connected to that I'm not aware of. You're right that my prompts tend to be very introspective. I am,
I love that you're realizing that a little bit. You're just like, oh, that's a good observation.
I definitely knew as soon as you said it, I was like, yeah. And I envisioned my chart just being like all bottom heavy, like all of the planets just being in the section of like, who am I? And so it's true. I'm always pulling us inward. I'm always like, let's just step inside. Let's sit down for a moment. Because it's noisy out here, it's a lot. So it's true.
And that's where the point of power is. The point of power is inside of yourself. So that is more actionable than making everything on the outside, because that's just like waiting for, the good, the bad, the ugly. Well,
absolutely.
If you go inside, you're able to maybe do something at least for yourself if you can't do anything about the larger themes that are happening, for sure.
Absolutely. And I think about some of the clients I've had early on in my career. It's funny to say that, where, now I do, you brought up spiritual questions, and I do have a lot of people who come to me with spiritual inquiries, but I did have more clients in the past who were interested in, when am I going to get back together with this person? When is this thing going to work out? And I would often, and this is just the people who are coming to see me. So not that this type of card reading does not work accurately for certain people, but the people who have come to see me, again, this very introspective person, often come to me with questions that are the wrong question, or like that we're trying to, I'm bypassing something. I'm really fixated on something. I'm not seeing the other influences in this question, which is why I'm phrasing it this way to you. And so I would find that I would try to do these readings and I would say like, well, what's coming up is that actually like judgment is here. Like, I think there's actually like, we might not be getting back together. Like, this is like, we have some soul searching to do. We have some self, like, we need to set ourselves free. We're waiting for someone. You're asking me about, someone else has the power. And I love that you said power, like kind of power centering, because absolutely, like what you're saying to me is that someone else has the power. And what I'm telling you is that you need to have this power inside you. And I think that's just who I am and the kind of people I'm here to work with. Because I've also very much a healer and an exposer. Like, I'm here to, like, I have to be honest with you. I can't, and like, if you're coming to see me, it's to hear something in a way you haven't heard before, which is also how portals kind of works too. It's like, if you're here, like, you're seeing something in a way that you've never seen in this way before. And so Yeah, I am definitely someone who's like, listen, I live in like the darker corners of the world. So like if you're asking me this question that's on the surface level, there's absolutely something that I'm here to talk to you about that's underneath. So that's just me, and that's just my vibe. So I think that's a big influence on the nature of those prompts, is that a lot of the things I have sought for myself, a lot of those straightforward questions I've tried to ask myself through the cards are never cut and dry. They're never, there's always a Taylor, you must look within, Taylor, magic 8 ball, like the answer you seek is inside. You have to focus on something first before you are finding it outside of yourself. And so that does show up a lot in my prompts for sure.
And I think that's just super important because it's like, if we stop, okay, so imagine you, I'm not trying to put this out here, but like
I love
imagine you
it.
get hit by a car. And if you get hit by a car, no one's rushing you to the podiatrist. No one's taking you to the ear, nose, and throat doctor. They're taking you to the ER, right? And that's kind of how you need to assess the person that you're going to go see. Because to label us all as the same exact person is to feed into the trope that it's a gypsy fortune telling
Absolutely.
traditional job. Like that's just not, I mean, tarot certainly wasn't, it didn't start out as a mystical thing, but the very first time somebody looked at it mystically, they looked at it in terms of how we can become better people or to evolve into the highest good of ourselves. And it's, taken different paths and different journeys, but that is why you should choose your tarot reader based on your question or based on what you feel you need, and that also gives the tarot reader the feeling that they get to channel in the way that they want. It's like, we're artists. Like we want to communicate in a way that feels artistic. We don't want to be the capitalistic just churning out readings in order to, I think that's where an issue with money comes from, is when you sell out in a way, or when you when you just perform things because you think that's what people want.
Sure, if your heart's not really there, or there's no value to you to be providing that service. Sure. Definitely.
Exactly. So I love that. I think it's so important that, you know what kind of a reader that you are, because the way that you read is going to open up that person in the ways that they need. And it's great that you break up things like past, present, future. And because if you think about it, like symbolically, the horizontal line is supposed to be the material line anyways. So once you go vertical, it's supposed to be the spiritual line. So I was exactly like the second you said vertical, I was like, of course you said vertical.
I'm right there.
Yeah, right? Because that's when you look at the Celtic cross. Those 4 cards, or the 5 cards, the middle card is the present moment. There's a really great book by Joan Bunning on spreads, and she also says exactly what you said, which is the very first card is the anchoring card. It's like a gong, so that is the one that where kind of the story starts. Now, you don't obviously have to stay on the storyline, but that is where the story starts. And then, if you have a bridge card, it's another singular one that's holding 2 of this, 2 places of the spread together. That has its own, symbology of being kind of a solo card. But in the Celtic cross, if you're talking about past, present, future, those are the vertical line or the horizontal line. That's what physically happened in the past. This is what's physically happening in the present. This is what's physically going to happen. But above it, I mean, I haven't used the Celtic cross in so long, so I don't remember what the top
is there something
when
like
I do it, it's
what we're aspiring to?
Yeah,
like
maybe
what's
it's
above
that.
us, what we're trying to look up to, maybe what's influencing us, I think might be.
That might
like
be
what's
it.
Beneath us is what's supporting us, what's the foundation in this moment, and then what's above us is like what we're being guided by, what we're
and that doesn't
walking
like
toward.
It just makes you really like, I feel like a lot of times we are confused in the beginning because we're using spreads that are way too broad.
Oh, absolutely.
Way too broad. So instead of like looking at it like what's supporting this, it's like, yeah, maybe sometimes you might, be able to conjure some people really like that. But if you think more like if the card above the center card is like your thoughts or what you're going over or what your mind is mulling over, and the one beneath it is your heart, maybe, what are you feeling? And you can see the contrast simply by the symbology, by the suit, by if it's a core card and versus a major versus a minor. There's so much you can see that you can't really look at if it's kind of broad, because then it's hard to kind of connect them, I think.
Yeah, definitely. We get too many narratives, we get too many ideas, especially when we're first learning. There's so many different contexts for each card. The context changes when it's in combination with different cards. We start off with these 10 cards and we're like, oh my God, is it this one or is it this one? Is it the one where is it the Queen of Cups where I'm in charge of my emotions, or is it the Queen of Cups where I'm nourishing someone else's emotions? Is it which one, like, and then 10 of these, and then like, oh my God. Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot. It's a
So
lot.
true. And it's
Yeah.
also when you're you just said something that, oh my God, it happened to be all the time when I first started doing readings, or reading for myself at least, was just this I think it was like getting stuck on the meaning, or getting stuck on,
Like how many different layers?
trying to make it work. Oh, when
Mm.
my favorite position, that's what it is. My favorite position is what is the best outcome? And
Oh
then you
my
get
goodness.
10 of
Oh my
swords.
God. Or like the Tower.
Like, how do I interpret that?
10 of
How
Cups
do I interpret
reversed.
this? Yeah,
And you're like, that's ideal to me. The ideal is to be
right.
what? Okay.
Why? So it's like maybe
It's a
an
lot, yeah.
oracle card would be maybe better in that position. And I don't want to limit, but that's the thing. It's like spreads aren't intrinsic to tarot. So they're their own thing. So it
Sure.
has to kind of work with tarot. Tarot doesn't work with a
Yes.
spread.
Absolutely. And that's part of the process of kind of learning what kind of prompts work and which ones don't. Because you can definitely ask the wrong question. Like you can, and it's not even maybe the wrong question, but it's just asked in the wrong way. It's really important to get kind of the nuance of like, how am I asking this? Because, if the question is, let's use what you just said. The question is the ideal outcome, and then I pull the 10 of Swords. How am I supposed to process that? What does that mean? So then how could I ask that more specifically? Like from there, yeah, from those more generic questions, kind of being curious about like, how could I have asked that differently? Like, because I am stuck and like I don't understand, and I'm going to spiral about this, right? Like if I have an ounce of anxiety within my bones, and I'm going
Exactly.
to
The tower comes up.
stop, like just end me now, like let's just go home. I had a year of the Tower. There was like a year of my life where like
Oh my
every
God, I'm
single
so sorry.
pull that I did had the Tower in it, and I was like, and like month to month, I'd be like, okay, so I ended that thing. Now what? And it'd be like, okay, Tower. And I'd be like, oh my God, okay.
Oh my goodness.
So it's a lot. And absolutely, it does kind of compel us to ask more specific questions. So I think I get as into details as I possibly can, which I realize now is me activating the non-existent Virgo that I have. That's my little Mercury Pisces
Your
kind
little
of best
opposition.
retrograde. Yes, like leading that ninth house. Okay, so listen, we need to get as specific as possible and like hold the microscope much closer, okay? Because we don't want to miss a single. I think I've just asked such broad questions at such a young age, and like really just just been so confounded by myself and what I'm trying to ask that I've had to be like, what's the simplest way to ask this? And there are some times where I'll think like, okay, what I want, what I desire, and I'll be like, even that's a little vague. Like what I desire based on what motivation, like what I desire when I'm using this of sound mind, what I desire when I'm out of touch with my process. And like those become the questions. It's like, okay, let's get really nitty gritty with this. Let's think about like, okay, I want something. What's standing in my way? Okay, like, so what I want and like what's blocking me? And then, what I can look to within me as a resource that I already have. I think that's maybe another influence of hypnosis, because I do so much self-resourcing in hypnosis with other people. It's so much about what can I give myself subconsciously that is not, again, like a financial good, unless it really is. But like, what can I give myself at this time that helps me in this moment rather than looking externally? And so I think there is so much about like, what do I already have? That's always a prompt in my, like, I'm always like, what exists currently? Like what I have access to now, what I'm aspiring to access, and what it might look like to begin cultivating the access to that.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode, and I hope to see you at the next one. And as always, as above, so below, blessed be.